IIW guidelines for international welding engineers, technologists, specialists, and practitioners. Personnel with qualification for welding coordination. Minimum requirements for the education, examination, and qualification. The IIW training system for welding personnel. Preface. This document is based upon the European Welding Engineer, Technologist, Specialist, Practitioner guidelines as developed by the European Federation for Welding, Joining and Cutting (EWF) through an agreement first signed 19 July 1997 at the annual meeting of the International Institute of Welding (IIW) in San Francisco, California, USA, and which has been renewed and further developed since then. It has been established in that agreement that the International Welding Engineer, Technologist, Specialist, Practitioner diploma is equivalent to the European Welding Engineer, Technologist, Specialist, Practitioner diploma. The International Institute of Welding (IIW) has delegated the responsibility for the management of the qualification and certification systems to the international authorized body IAB. These guidelines for the international education, training, examination, and qualification of welding personnel has been prepared, evaluated, and formulated by Group at Education, Training, and Qualification of the IAB. Any EWF authorized national body A and B is permitted to issue AWF diplomas equivalent to IIW ones that have been issued by the same A and B automatic route. This is the structure of the organization and the relationship between the IIW and the IAB management team. Minimum requirements for the education, training, examination, and qualification of personnel. Introduction. Section 1 of the guideline covers the minimum requirements of education and training which have been agreed upon by all IAB A and Bs in terms of objectives, scope, learning outcomes, and the teaching hours to develop to achieving them. It will be revised periodically by IAB Group A to take into account changes to reflect the state of the art. Successfully students completing of course of education and examination will be expected to be capable of applying the welding technology at a level consistent with the qualification diploma. Section 2 of the guideline covers the rules for examination and qualification. The modular course contents are given in the following structure. Overview. Teaching hours are minimum for the standard route C 2.6, MT module total part 1 plus part 3, P1 part 1, and modules of the theoretical education and fundamental practical skills. Welding processes and equivalent IWE MT 95 P1 46 and IWT MT 86 P1 46, IWS MT 53 P1 20, IWP MT 32 and P1 19. Materials and their behavior during welding, IWE MT 115 P1 33, IWT 96 P1 31, IWS MT 56 and IWS P1 16. IWP MT 23 and P1 10. Third, construction and design, IWE MT 62 and P1 14, IWT MT 44 and P1 14, IWS MT 24 and P1 4, IWP MT 6 and P1 0. For fabrication application engineering module, IWE MT 116 P1 0, IWT MT 83 P1 0, IWS MT 56 P1 0, IWP MT 29 0, subtotal MT at IWE 388 and P1 93, IWT MT 309 and P191, IWS MT 189 and P140, IWP MT 90 and P129 hours. Fundamental practical skills P2 IWE MT 60 and total 448, IWT MT 60 369 total, IWS MT 60 2249 total, IWP 60 practical skills and total 150. It is to be noted that the overall structure of the syllabus for all levels IWE, IWT, IWS and IWP is similar, but some topics are not considered in all levels of qualification. These topics are indicated by 0 hours in this guideline. The depth or to which a topic is dealt with is indicated by the number of hours allocated to it in the guideline. This will be reflected in the topic and depth of the examination. The objectives of the education, training and examination in terms of learning outcomes are described in two ways. Generally, for each level, as mentioned in Appendix 5, and more specifically and in more detail under the heading of expected results in each section of the syllabus. Additionally, Appendix 5 shows a classification for each level of learning outcomes, generally into an EQF level, EQF equal to European Qualification Framework. The text on the following pages is the IIW view of the relevant task descriptions and should be considered only as guidelines to explain the level of knowledge, competence and skills for each qualification level under the guideline. Task descriptions, knowledge, skills and competence levels achieved for each qualification level and their correlation with ISO 14731. IWE, Knowledge, Competence and Management. A candidate completing the IWE training under this program is expected to acquire advanced knowledge and critical understanding of welding technology application. He or she shall have advanced competence and have skill at the level that is required in the field of welding technology, which is demonstrated. Technology, mastery and required innovation, being able to solve high complex and unpredictable problems, the ability to manage high complex technical and professional activities or projects related to welding applications, taking responsibility for decision making in unpredictable work or study context, taking responsibility for managing professional development of individuals and groups. IWT, Knowledge, Competence and Management. A candidate completing the IWT training under this program is expected to acquire an overall knowledge and understanding of welding technology application. He or she shall have competence and skill at a level that is acquired in the field of welding technology, which demonstrate being able to solve low-level complex problems, the ability to manage in detail the welding applications and related professional activities or objects, taking responsibility to decision making in low-level complex work or study context, taking responsibility to define the tasks of welding or related personnel, being able to manage professional development of individuals and groups. IWS, Knowledge, Competence and Management. A candidate completing the IWS training under this program is expected to acquire a specialized and factual knowledge in the field of welding technology. He or she shall have competence and skills at a level that is required in the field of welding technology, which demonstrate being able to develop solutions on common regular problems, being able to manage and supervise common or standard welding applications and related professional activities, taking responsibility for decision making in common or standard work, taking responsibility to supervise the tasks of welding and related personnel. IWP, Knowledge, Competence and Management. A candidate completing the IWP training under this program is expected to require a basic knowledge in the field of welding technology. He or she shall have competence and skills at a level that is required in the field of welding technology, which demonstrate being able to develop solutions on basic and specific problems, being able to supervise basic welding applications and related professional activities, taking responsibility for decision making in basic work, taking responsibility to supervise the tasks of welding and related personnel. In correlation with essential coordination tasks as detailed in ENI ISO 14731, the previous mentioned competence and skills will enable the candidate to effectively perform the following tasks. Type of construction concerned for IWE, IWT, IWS and IWP. Welding construction contract requirements for IWE, IWT, IWS able to review and for IWP not able to perform. Technical review of the following construction our IWE, IWT, IWS able to perform the task for IWP not able to perform. Subcontracting activities for IWE, IWT, IWS able to specify requirements and as assessment protocol to supervise implementation and monitor. For IWP able to supervise implementation and monitor. Welding personnel and related personnel needs and competency skills for IWE, IWT, IWS able to specify, supervise and management. For IWP able to supervise the welding personnel and monitor. Equipment and means needed for construction for IWE, IWT, IWS able to specify, validate and manage the equipment including the calibration if needed. For IWP able to understand and supervise the proper use. Manufacturing plan able to specify, develop, validate and manage. For IWP able to monitor and implement. Welding procedure needed for construction for IWE, IWT, IWS able to specify, develop, evaluate, validate and manage. For IWP able to understand and implement. Work instructions for IWE, IWT, IWS able to specify, develop, evaluate and manage. For IWP able to understand, implement. Basic material and welding consumables for IWE, IWT, IWS able to specify, validate and manage. For IWP able to monitor and supervise the proper use. Inspection testing plan for IWE, IWT, IWS able to specify, review, develop, evaluate, validate and manage. For IWP able to understand, implement and monitor. Heat treatments for IWE, IWT and IWS able to specify, develop, evaluate, validate and manage. For IWP able to understand, implement, supervise and monitor. Corrective actions to solve welded construction non-conformances for IWE, IWT, IWS able to specify, review, develop, evaluate, validate and management. IWP able to implement, monitor and control. Identification and traceability used in welding manufacturing for IWE, IWT, IWS able to specify, develop, evaluate, validate and manage processes. For IWP able to understand, control and supervise. Construction quality records for IWE, IWT, IWS able to specify, develop, evaluate, validate and manage processes related to monitor and control. For IWP able to collect, control, perform and supervise. Characterization of the general description of IWI qualification. Description describing the qualification descriptors in terms of knowledge K, skills S, competence C for each IIW welding coordination qualification. Workload is the minimum duration of the weld teaching hours of the standard route plus the hours of the student needs for the self-study. ECVET is the European credited system for vocational education and training. Knowledge application for international welding engineer, highly specialized and forefront knowledge including original thinking, research and critical assessment of theory, principles and applicability of welding related technologies. Knowledge application for international welding technologies, advanced knowledge and critical understanding of the theory, principles and applicability of welding and related technologies. Knowledge application of international welding specialist, specialized factual and theoretical knowledge of the theory, principles and applicability of the welding and related technologies. Knowledge application of international welding practitioner, factual and theoretical knowledge, basic understanding of the theory, principles and applicability of the welding and related technologies. Skills application of international welding engineer, highly specialized problem solving skills including critical and original evaluation aligned to define or develop the best technical and economical solutions when applying welding processes and related technologies in complex and unpredictable conditions. Skills application for international welding technologists, advanced problem solving skills including critical evaluation aligned to choose the proper technical and economical solutions when applying welding and related technologies in complex and unpredictable conditions. Skill application for international welding specialists, specialized range of cognitive and practical skills aligned to develop solutions or choose the appropriate method when applying welding and related technologies in common regular problems. Skill application for international welding practitioner, fundamental range of cognitive and practical skills required to identify proper solutions when applying welding and related technologies in basic and specified problems. Competencies of international welding engineer, manage and transform the welding processes and related technologies in highly complex contexts, act as the full responsible person of the definition and revision of that welding and related personnel tasks. Competencies of international welding technologists, manage the application of welding and related technologies in a high complex context, act autonomously as the responsible person for the decision making and the definition of the welding and related personnel tasks. Competencies of international welding specialists, manage and supervise common or standard welding applications and related technologies in an unpredictable context. Take responsibility with limited autonomy for decision making in common or standard work and supervise the welding and related personnel tasks. Competencies of international welding practitioner, self-manage within the guidelines of work, the applications of welding and related technologies in a predictable context but subject to change. Take responsibility without autonomy for decision making in basic work and supervise basic tasks of welding and related personnel. International welding engineer, EQF level 7, teaching hours 448, workload 836 hours, ECVET 0.75. International welding technologist, EQF level 6, teaching hours 309, workload hours 534, ECVET 50. International welding specialist, EQF level 5, teaching hours 189, workload hours 312, ECVET 0.30. International welding practitioner, EQF level 4, teaching hours 150, workload hours 347, ECVET 0.8. Routes to qualification. 5 distinct routes to gaining the qualification described in this document have been agreed. The standard route, the alternative route, blended learning route, the experiential route, transition route. The standard route. The standard route requires successful completion of IWB approved courses which are designed to meet all the requirements in the guideline. This is the route path 1 in diagram 1, 2, 3 and 4. Recommended by IAB as offering that the fastest, most comprehensive manner in which the syllabus may be covered. The standard route also allows a limited amount of prior learning part 1 of each qualification course. See section 1 to be taken into account, for example, during university or college courses, or by blended learning part 2 in diagram 1, 2, 3 and 4. This prior learning shall be approved by the A and B. Alternative route. The alternative route is aimed at individuals who may already have experience of the job function at a particular level without holding the appropriate qualification diploma. These individuals will have already gained full or part knowledge of the syllabus defined in this guideline and can demonstrate their capability to proceed to examination either directly without compulsory attendance at an A and B approved training course or by attending only part of such a course. Blended learning route. The part 1 theory module may be taught in blended learning program under control of the A and B. When the part 1 and part 3 theory modules are combined or the part 3 theory module is taught separately, the requirements of the latest diploma of the blended learning guideline IAB and 95 shall be followed. The experiential route or the career development route. The experiential route allows considering whether professional experiential learning can be recognized for career professional progression either from IWP diploma holders to IWS or IWS diploma holders to IWT courses who do not satisfy the relevant general access conditions. By this route, it is possible to run career path from the welder through the IWP and IWS up to the IWT. More detailed information is given on item 3.2 and 3.3. The transition route is described in section 2, item 10. Teaching hours. The meaning of the teaching hours is the following. Standard route. Minimum number of hours devoted to the subject. Alternative route, recommended number of hours devoted to the subject. Distance learning, recommended number of hours devoted to the subject. Part 1 P1, maximum number of hours devoted to the subject in part 1. Part 3 P3, minimum of recommended number of hours devoted to the subject in part 3. A teaching hours shall contain at least 50 minutes of direct teaching time. General access condition. In a separate document, Directory of Access Condition, document IAB 020, see latest edition, the defined access conditions approved by Group B, implementation and authorization of the IAB are given in detail for all countries participating in the IAB system. Applicants not fulfilling the access conditions may follow the course as guests, but entry to the related examination is not permitted. The following general conditions shall be applied to all courses. Students who have successfully passed the intermediate examination part 1 of the course are allowed to attend part 2 and part 3 of the course. The implementation of the access condition is the responsibility of the A and B. In the following parts of the chapter 3 and in C especially requirements in chapter 4 of the guideline, diagrams are used for schematic illustration of the text. It should be noted that it is the text which is blended, it is binding. International Welding Engineer. It is agreed that entry to the program should be on a postgraduate level, participants should have a primary degree in an engineering discipline or its equivalent recognized by the national government and assessed by the ANB. Therefore, it would be expected that participants should have at least a bachelor degree at university level with a minimum study of 3 years. Example criteria: a relevant qualification from an accredited program in accordance with the Washington Accord to Professional Qualification of Engineers, or a first cycle Bologna framework engineering qualification, or an engineering qualification at EQF level 6 or equivalent. In case of cooperation arrangements, example e.g. with universities according to which the IWE Part 1, IWE 1 of the syllabus, which with scope, objectives and learning outcomes, see section 1, is presented under careful control of the ANB. The participant is allowed to enter the IWE course through the part 2, see item 2.1 and the diagram 1. The following additional conditions shall be observed for the different routes through the IWE course. 1. Students who have authenticated evidence that they have passed the examination in all subjects of their bachelor engineering degree studies but it still have to complete a thesis are allowed to attend part 2 IWE2 and part 3 IWE3 of the IWE course and the corresponding written parts of the final examination. Second, students shall have present their degree diploma to the Board of Examiners before being allowed to take the final oral examination for IWE. International Welding Technologist IWT, it is agreed that entry to the program via Part 1 and Part 2 should be on the basis of the higher technical education below that required for the international welding engineer. Participants should have a primary degree in an engineering discipline, e.g., a relevant qualification from an accredited program in accordance with the Sydney Accord for Professional Qualification of Engineering Technologists, or a short cycle Bologna framework engineering qualification, or an engineering qualification at EQF level 5 or equivalent. In case of cooperation agreement, e.g. with technical colleges, according to which the IWT Part 1 of the curriculum structure, see section 1, is presented under careful control of the ANB, the participant is allowed to enter the IWT course through Part 2, see item 2.1 and diagram 2. Applicants who have gained relevant industrial experience may take the experiential route to meet the general access condition to IWT. 1. IWS with a minimum of 2 years experience post-qualified certification as responsible for welding coordination for a welded product manufacturer working in full compliance with the standard quality requirement of ISO 38343 or above, or 6 years of experience working at technologist level after gained the IWS diploma and within the preceding 8 years. All experiential route applicants will be required to attend the IWT Part 3 taught course and pass all technologist level examination to gain the IWT diploma. International Welding Specialist IWS. It is agreed that entry to the program through Part 1 and Part 2 should be on the basis of specific technical education below that required for the international welding technologies, but higher than a professional worker, e.g. relevant qualification from an accredited program. In accordance with the Dublin Accord, the professional qualification of engineering technicians or an engineering qualification at EQF level 4 or equivalent. In case of cooperation arrangements with e.g. with technical colleges, according to which the IWS Part 1 of the curriculum structure, see section 1, is presented under careful control of the ANB. The participant is allowed to enter the IWS course through Part 2, see item 2.1 and the diagram 3. The following additional conditions shall be observed for the different routes through the IWS course. Path 1 and Path 2, a minimum 2 years jobs related experience is required. Path 3, for the access to the module IWS Part 0, the minimum requirements are International Welding Practitioner IWP and minimum 2 years experience. See on above diagram option 1, or a qualification of professional worker with diploma after examination in metalworking professional at EQF level 3 or equivalent and minimum 3 years experience in welding related activities. The education national definition for a professional worker as given in the directory of access conditions. See on above diagram 3. 3A, qualified professional worker as stated not fulfilling the IWS national access requirements should be allowed to go directly to the IWS Part 0 examination if they can prove that they have achieved the knowledge prescribed by the IWS Part 0. See on the above diagram 3 option 2. An IWP diploma holder not fulfilling the IWS national access requirements should be allowed to go directly to the IWS Part 0 examination if they can prove that they have achieved the knowledge prescribed by the IWS Part 0. See on the above diagram option 2. If the applicant has accessed on this exam, he or she may skip the IWS Part 1 and only perform the IWS Part 1 intermediate exam. At the discretion of the A and B, a partial or full exemption from Part 2 may be granted. See diagram 3, option 2 and 4. If the IWP diploma holder fulfill the IWS national access requirements, he may skip the entry test IWS Part 0 examination and IWS Part 1 and only perform the IWS Part 1 intermediate exam. See the above diagram 3, option 3. At the discretion of the A and B, and full or part exemption from Part 2 may be granted. International Welding Practitioner IWP. In order to enter the International Welding Practitioner course, participants are required to be skilled in practical welding and to have had experience as a welder in industry. The course is intended to build theoretical knowledge and practical welding skills. In case of cooperation arrangement, e.g. with technical colleges according to which the IWP Part 1 of the curriculum structure C of section 1 is presented under the careful control of the A and B, the participant is allowed to enter the IWP course through the route 2. See item 2.1 and the diagram below. The following standard access depth conditions are applicable to the IWP course. Applicants are required to hold a valid pipe welder qualification certificate in accordance with ISO 9606 1 or 2 IHL 045 SSNB or JL 045 SSNB or the combination PC and PH SSNB in the same material group, or hold a valid plate welder qualification certificate in accordance with ISO 96061 for the conditions PE SSNB or PC and PF SSNB, or in accordance with ISO 96062 for the conditions PE BS or PC and PF PS, or hold an alternative national welder qualification with the same range of qualification as that in 1 or 2 above, and have a recommended minimum of 2 years job related experience as plate or pipe welder. Special requirements standard route. Applicants excluding gas shall satisfy the A and B access conditions. If the A and B decide that the access conditions are adequately met, the applicants are then required to attend a training course conducted by an approved training body ATB, given as a minimum of the hours of instruction detailed in this guideline as teaching hours. There will be the written and oral examination where applicable for the award of the applicable IIW diploma. The maximum number of hours of the lectures which can be included in Part 1 are given in the table included in the Chapter 1 above. The definition of the elements of the syllabus which are included in Part 1 is the responsibility of the A and B. It is not obligatory of following exactly the order of the topics given in the guideline, and choice in the arrangements of the syllabus is permitted, with the exemption that training must conclude the module 4, Fabrication Applications Engineering in Part 3. The depth to which each topic is dealt with is indicated by the number of hours allocated to it in this guideline. This will be reflected in the scope and depth of the examination. The objectives of the education, training, and examination in terms of learning outcomes are described in two ways, generally for each level C instruction, and more specifically and in more detail under the heading of expected result in each section of the syllabus. The rules for the conduct of the final examination by the A and B are prescribed under examination and qualification in this guideline section 2. Alternative route. Applicants shall have submit an application form to the ANBI together with the appropriate documents indicated in the sub clauses 4.2.1, 4.2.2, 4.2.3 and or to 4.2.4 for a paper assessment. The applicant shall check the documentation submitted to ensure the applicant meets the national access conditions. See document IAB 020 latest edition. In addition, the INB check should evaluate and verify the applicant's experience, training, education, and practice of the job function in welding at the relevant qualification level. The result of this assessment shall determine if the applicant is suitable for further detailed assessments. Appendix 2. Appendix 2. Requirements for A and B detailed assessment used in alternative routes. After the candidate has fulfilled the requirements of the A and B paper check, he will admit it to the A and B detailed assessment diagram. The A and B detailed assessment shall include a detailed paper assessment of the candidate CVs for evidence of that the candidate's knowledge of the subject matter in guideline 1 to 4 consistent with the relevant qualification level. This is achieved using a checklist with point allocations. A project or technical interview to test that candidate's ability to logically apply to the knowledge expected by that relevant qualification guideline in module 4, Fabrication Application Engineering. The sequence of this assessment shall be determined by the A and B. It is within the discretion of the A and B to terminate the assessment at any point and defer the application or redirect the candidate to the standard route. The paper assessment shall be based on a review of the applicant's experience and education against the IIW guideline and access conditions. This review will be based on the information provided by the applicants as outlined his or her curriculum vitae and his supporting documentation, which may include course outline, transcripts, certifications, documents, diplomas, degrees, etc. International Welding Engineer IWE. The applicant shall submit an application form, a copy of a diploma showing graduation in an engineering subject complying with the access conditions, a curriculum vitae CV resume containing professional information, evidence of at least 3 years job function in welding at the level of an engineer in period of 6 years before application, justification of candidates' experience, training, and education to become IWE may include other test results. Applicants who satisfy the access condition and already hold an IWT diploma should be considered under the alternative route. International Welding Technologist IWT. The applicant shall submit an application form, a copy of a diploma showing graduation as technologist complying with the access conditions, a curriculum vitae CV resume containing professional information, evidence of at least 4 years job function in welding at the level of technologist in a period of 6 years before application, justification of candidates' experience, training, and education to become IWT may include other test results. Applicants who satisfy the access condition and already hold an IWS diploma should be considered under the alternative route. Applicants who satisfy the access conditions and hold an IWIC diploma should be considered under the alternative route. International Welding Specialist. The applicant shall submit an application form, a copy of documentary proof showing compliance with access conditions for IWS, a curriculum advertised CV, a resume containing professional information, evidence of at least 3 years job function in welding at level equivalent to that of specialist in a period of 6 years before application. Justification of candidates' experience, training, and education to become IWS may include other test results. Applicants who satisfy the access conditions and hold an IWS diploma should be considered under the alternative route. Applicants who do not satisfy the access condition but who have a minimum 6 years experience in welding, coordination, and demonstrate to the A and B, and their combination of education, training, and experience in welding technology has provided a level of knowledge equivalent to the current IIW requirement should be considered under the alternative route. International Welding Practitioner IWP. The applicant shall submit an application form, a copy of a valid welder qualification certificate according with chapter 3.4 of the standard route, a curriculum vitae CV, resume containing professional information, minimum 3 years job function in welding as a certified plate or tube welder in a period of 5 years before application plus minimum 1 year job function in welding practitioner level in a period of 3 years before application. Justification of candidates' experience, training, and education to become IWP may include other test results. Section 1, Theoretical and Practical Education, Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3, Syllabus and Performance Objectives. On the following video, it is presented the training syllabus for each module syllabus of the training. Here are teaching hours. Those after P1 are maximum teaching hours which can be included in Part 1. Theoretical Education Part 1 and Part 3, Module 1, Welding Process and Equipment. Characterization of the general description of Module 1, Welding Process and Equipment, describing the qualification descriptors in terms of knowledge K, skills S, competencies C for each IIW welding coordination qualification. Knowledge for international welding engineer, highly specialized knowledge able to deduce, detail, and explain, and critical assessment of the principles of welding and cutting processes and applications, either manual or mechanized or automatic or robotized. International Welding Technologist, advanced knowledge able to deduce, detail, and explain, and critical assessment of the principles of welding and cutting processes and applications, either manual or mechanized or robotic or automatic. Knowledge for international welding specialist, specialized and factual knowledge able to understand and identify of the principles of welding and cutting processes and applications, either manual, mechanized, automatic or robotized. Knowledge for international welding practitioner, factual and theoretical knowledge, basic understand of the principles of welding and cutting processes and applications, either manual, mechanized, automatic or robotized. Skills for international welding engineer, highly specialized problem solving skills including critical and original evaluation allowing to define or develop the best technical and economical solutions when applying welding processes and related technologies in complex and under unpredictable conditions. Skills for international welding technologist, advanced problem solving skills including critical evaluation allowing to choose the proper technical and economical solutions when applying welding processes and related technologies in complex and unpredictable conditions. For international welding specialist, specialized range of cognitive and practical skills allowing to develop solutions or choose the appropriate methods when applying welding and related technologies in common regular problems. Skills for international welding practitioner, range of cognitive and practical skills required to identify, choose the proper technical and economical solutions when applying welding and cutting processes on basic and specific problems. Competencies for international welding engineer: manage in detail the welding processes and cutting applications in a highly complex context, act as the responsible person for the definitions of the welding personnel tasks. Competencies for international welding technologists: manage in detail the welding processes and cutting applications in a highly complex context, act as the responsible person for the definition of the welding personnel tasks. Competencies for international welding specialists: manage and services the welding and cutting process applications in unpredictable modifications, act as the responsible person for supervise the welding personnel tasks. Competencies for international welding practitioner: self-manage the welding and cutting processes applications, usually predictable but subject to changes, will act as the responsible person for supervise the welding personnel tasks. International welding engineer, EQF 6, teaching hours 155, workload 255 hours, ECVET points 20. International welding technologist, 6 EQF level, teaching hours 688, workload 129, ECVET 10. International welding specialist, EQF level 5, teaching hours 53, workload 80 hours, ECVET 5. International welding practitioner, EQF level 4, teaching hours 32, workload hours 71, and ECVET points 2.5. Module 1, welding processes and equipment, qualification level. P1 part 1 figures under P1 are given for the standard road C 4.1, part 3 training hours over part 1 training hours. Subject title: 1.1 General Introduction to Welding Technologies, IWE 0/3, IWT 0/3, IWS 0/1, IWP 0/1. 1.2 Oxy-gas welding and related processes, IWE 0/2, IWT 0/2, IWS 0/1, IWP 0/1. 1.3 Electrotechnics review, IWE 0/1, IWT 0/1, IWS 0/2, IWP 0/2. 1.4 The Arc 0/3, IWT 0/3, IWS 1/0, IWP 1/0. 1.5 Power sources for arc welding, IWE 0/4, IWT 0/4, IWS 4/0, IWP 3/0. 1.6 Introduction to gas shielded arc welding, IWE 0/2, IWT 0/2, IWS 0/1, IWP 0/1. 1.7 TIG welding, IWE 0/5, IWT 0/5, IWS 0/3, IWP 0/2. 1.8.1 MIG-MAG, IWE and IWT 0/8, IWS 0/6 and IWP 0/6. 1.8.2 Flux core arc welding, IWE, IWT, IWS and IWP 0/2 all are the same. 1.9 MMA welding, IWE and IWT 0/6, IWS and IWP 0/4. 1.10 submerged arc welding, IWE and IWT 0/6, IWS and IWP 4/0. 1.11 resistance welding, IWE and IWT 6/0, IWS 3/0, IWP 0/0. 1.12.1 other welding processes, laser, electron beam and plasma, IWE 8/0, IWT 5/0, IWS 2/0, IWP 1/0. 1.12.2 other welding processes other than 1.12.1, IWE 6/0, IWT 4/0, IWS and IWP 2/0. Cutting, drilling and other edge preparation processes, IWE and IWT 0 and 4, IWS and IWP 0 and 2 and 0. 1.14 surfacing and spraying, IWE, IWT 2 and 0, IWS 1/0 and IWP 0 and 0. 1.15 fully mechanized processes and probatives, IWE 8/0, IWT 6/0, IWS 4/0 and IWP 0 and 0. 1.6 brazing and soldering, IWE and IWT 4/0, IWS 2/0, IWP 0 and 0. 1.17 joining processes for plastic, IWE and IWT 4/0, IWS 4/0, IWP 0 and 0. 1.18 joining processes for ceramics and composites, IWE 1/0, IWT 1/0, IWS and IWP 0 and 0. 1.19 welding laboratory, IWE 10/0, IWT T/0, IWS 6/0, IWP 0 and 0. Subtotal P349 and P146, IWT P340, P146, IWS 33 P3, 20 P1, IWP 13 P3 and P1 19 hours. Total IWE 95 hours, IWT 86 hours, IWS 53 hours, IWP 32 hours. Module 2, materials and their behavior during welding. Characterization of the general description of Module 2, materials and their behavior during welding, describing the qualification descriptors in terms of knowledge case, skills as competencies C for each IIW welding coordination qualification. Knowledge for international welding engineer, highly specialized knowledge able to deduce, detail and explain, and critical assessment regarding materials processing and applications and their behavior during welding and cutting. Knowledge for international welding technologists, advanced knowledge able to deduce, detail and explain, and critical assessment regarding materials processing and applications and their behavior during welding and cutting. Knowledge for international welding specialists, specialized and factual knowledge able to understand and identify regarding materials, processing and applications and their behavior during welding and cutting. Knowledge, international welding practitioner, factual and theoretical knowledge, basic understand regarding materials, processing and applications and their behavior during welding and cutting. Skills for international welding engineer, highly specialized skills including critical evaluation, able to predict and deduce to determine the correct technical solutions in terms of materials processing by welding and cutting, and be able to find solutions and predict problems due to the materials behavior during welding in a complex in complex and unpredictable conditions. For international welding technologies, advanced skills including critical evaluation able to predict and deduce to determine the correct technical solutions in terms of materials processing by welding and cutting, and be able to find solutions and predict problems due to the material's behavior during welding in complex and unpredictable conditions. For international welding specialists, specialized range of cognitive and practical skills which will allow choosing the proper technical solutions in terms of materials processing by welding, and be able to develop solutions due to the material's behavior during welding on common regular problems. Skills for international welding practitioner, range of cognitive and practical skills required to identify, choose the proper technical solutions in terms of materials processing and materials behavior during welding and cutting on basic and specific problems. Competencies for international welding engineer, manage in detail the materials applications and their behavior due to welding and related technologies in a highly complex context, acts as the responsible person for the definition of the welding and personnel tasks. Competencies for international welding technologists, manage in detail materials specifications and their behavior due to the welding and related technologies in a highly complex context, act as the responsible person for the definition of the welding personnel tasks. Competencies for international welding specialists, manage and supervise the materials applications and their behavior due to welding and related technologies and unpredictable modifications, act as the responsible person for supervise the welding personnel tasks. Competencies for international welding practitioner, self-manage the materials applications and their behavior due to welding and related technologies, usually unpredictable but subject to changes, will act as the responsible person for supervise the welding personnel tasks. International welding engineer, EQF level 7, teaching hours 115, workload 230 hours, ECVET points 20. International welding technologist, EQF level 6, teaching hours 96, workload 192 hours, ECVET points 20. International welding specialist, EQF level 4, teaching hours 56, workload 112 hours, ECVET 10. International welding practitioner, EQF level 4, teaching hours 23, workload 54 hours, ECVET points 2. Module 2, materials and their behavior during welding. Qualification level P1 part 1 figures under P1 are given for the standard route for part 1. Part 3 training hours over part 1 training hours. Subject title 2.1 structure and properties of metal, IWE, IWT 0 and 4, IWS 0 and 2, IWP 0 and 0. 2.2 phased and alloys 0 over 4, 0 4 for IWE, IWT, IWS and IWP 0 and 2. 2.3 iron carbon alloys, IWE and IWT 0 and 5, IWS 0 and 3, IWP 0 and 1. 2.4 manufacture and classification of steel, IWE and IWT 0 and 4, IWS 0 and IWP 0 and 2. 2.5 behavior of structural steels in fusion welding, IWE, IWT 0 and 4, IWS and IWP 0 and 2. 2.6 cracking phenomena in welded joints, IWE 8 and 0, IWT 6 and 0, IWS 4 and 0, IWP 4 and 0. For 2.7 fractures and different kinds of fractures, IWE 0 over 4, IWT 0 and 2, IWS 0 and 1, IWP 0 and 0. 2.8 heat treatment of base materials and welded joints, IWE 0 and 4, IWT 0 and 4, IWS 0 and 2, IPWP 0 and 1. 2 by 9 structural and allied steels. IWE and IWT are 0 and 4, IWS and IWP 0 and 2. 2 by 10 high strength steels. IWE 10 and 0, IWT 8 and 0, IWS 4 and 0, IWP 1 and 0. 2 by 11 application of structural and high strength steels. IWE, IWT and IWS 2 and 0 and IWP 1 and 0. 2 by 1 2 creep and creep resistance steels. IWE 4 and 0, IWT 3 and 0, IWS 4 2 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. 2 by 13 steels for cryogenic applications. IWE 4 and 0, IWT 3 and 0, IWS 2 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. 2 band 1 4 introduction to chromium. IWE 4 and 0, IWT 3 and 0, IWS 2 and 0, IWP 1 and 0. 2 band 1 5 stainless steel and heat resistant steels. IWE 12 and 0, IWT 9 and 0, IWS 5 and 0, IWP 2 and 0. 2 band 16 introduction to wear and protective layers. IWE 5 and 0, IWT 3 and 0, IWS 2 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. 2 band 17 cast irons and steels. IWE 2 and 0, IWT 2 and 0, IWS 2 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. 2 band 18 copper and copper alloys. And IWT 2 and 0, IWS 1 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. 2 band 19 nickel and nickel alloys. IWE 2 and 0, IWT 1 and 0, IWS 1 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. 2 band 20 aluminium and aluminium alloys. IWE 6 and 0, IWT 4 and 0, IWS 2 and 0, IWT P 2 and 0. 2 band 1, 2 band 2 band titanium and other metals and alloys. IWE 3 and 0, IWT 2 and 0, IWS 1 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. 2 band 2 2 joining dissimilar materials. IWE 4 and 0, IWT 3 and 0, IWS 2 and 0, IWP 1 and 0. 2 band 2 3 destructive testing of materials and welded joints. IWE 14 and 0, IWT 14 and 0, IWS 4 and 0, IWP 3 and 0. Subtotal 82 part 3 hours, 33 P1 of IWE. IWT part 3 65 hours, P1 31 hours. IWS part 3 40 hours, part 1 16 hours. IWP part 3 13 hours, part 1 10 hours. IWE 115 total hours, IWT 96 total hours, IWS 56 total hours, IWP 53 total hours. Module 3 Construction and Design. Characterization of the general description of Module 3 Construction and Design, describing the qualification descriptors in terms of knowledge K, skills S, competencies C, each IIW welding coordination qualification. Knowledge for international welding engineer, high specialized knowledge able to reduce, detail and explain and critical assessment of the theory, principles concerning their design and construction related to welding technology. Knowledge for international welding technologists, advanced knowledge able to reduce, detail and explain, and critical assessment of the theory, principles concerning the design and construction related to welding technology. Knowledge for international welding specialists, specialized and factual knowledge able to understand and identify of the theory and principle concerning the design and construction related to welding technology. Knowledge for international welding practitioner, factual and theoretical knowledge, basic understanding of the theory and principle concerning the design and construction related to welding technology. Skills for international welding engineer, highly specialized skill including critical evaluation able to predict and reduce to define and determine the best technical and economical solutions that shall be applied in terms of metal fabrication and design when applying welding technology in complex and unpredictable conditions. Skills for international welding technologists, advanced skills including critical evaluation able to predict and deduce to define and determine the best technical and economical solutions that shall be applied in terms of metal fabrication and design when applying welding and technology in complex and unpredictable conditions. For international welding specialists, specialized range of cognitive and practical skills which will allow choosing the proper technical and economical solutions in terms of metal fabrication and design when applying welding technology on common regular problems. Skills for international welding practitioner, range of cognitive and practical skills required to identify, choose the proper technical and economical solutions in terms of metal fabrication and design when applying welding technology on basic and specific problems. Competencies for international welding engineer, manage in detail the construction and design of welded product applications in highly complex contexts, act as the responsible person for the definition of the welding personnel tasks. Competencies for international welding technologists, manage in detail the construction and design of welded products, applications in a highly complex context, act as the responsible person for the definition of the welding personnel tasks. Competencies for international welding specialists, manage and supervise construction and design of welded products, applications in unpredictable modifications, act as the responsible person for supervise the welding personnel tasks. Competencies for international welding practitioner, self-manage the construction and design of welded products applications, are usually predictable but subject to changes, will act as the responsible person for supervise the welding personnel tasks. International welding engineer, EQF level 7, teaching hours 62, workload 124 hours, ECVET points 15. International welding technologist, EQF level 6, teaching hours 44, workload 88 hours, ECVET 10 hours. International welding specialist, EQF level 5, teaching hours 24, workload 36 hours, ECVET 5. International welding practitioner, EQF level 4, teaching hours 6, workload 13, ECVET 0.5. Module 3, construction and design, qualification level, part 3, training hours over part 1, training hours. Part 1 P1 and figures under P1 are given for the standard road C 4.1. Subject title 3.1 Basic Theory of Structural Systems, IWE and IWT 0 and 4, IWS 2 over 0, IWP 0 and 0. 3.2 Fundamentals of the Strength of Materials, IWE and IWT 0 and 6, IWS 0, 4 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. 3.33 Joint Design for Welding and Brazing, IWE and IWT 0 and 4, IWS 3 and 0, IWP 2 and 0. 3.4 Basics of weld design, IWE 6 and 0, IWT 6 and 0, IWS 4 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. 3.5 Behavior of welded structures under different types of loading, IWE 4 and 0, IWT 2 and 0, IWS 1 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. 3.6 Design of weld structures with predominantly static loading, IWE 8 and 0, IWT 5 and 0, IWS 3 and 0, IWP 2 and 0. 3.7 Behavior of welded structures under cyclic loading, IWE 8 and 0, IWT 5 and 0, IWS 2 and 0, IWP 1 and 0. 3.8 Design of cyclic loaded welded structures, 8.0, 8 and 0, 4 and 0, IWS 2 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. 3.9 Design of welded pressure equipment, IWE 6 and 0, IWT 4 and 0, IWS 4 and 0, IWP 1 and 0. 3.10 Design of aluminum alloy structures, IWE and IWT 4 and 0 and 2 and 0, IWS 1 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. 3.11 Introduction to Fracture Mechanization Mechanics, IWE 4 and 0, IWT 2 and 0, IWS 0 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. Subtotal: Part 3 48 hours, Part 1 14 hours. IWT Part 3 30 hours, Part 1 14 hours. IWS Part 3 20 hours, Part 1 4 hours. IWP Part 3 6 hours and Part 1 0. Overall total: IWE 62 hours, IWT 44 hours, IWS 24 hours and IWP 6 hours. Module 4 Fabrication Applications Engineering. Characterization of the general description of Module 4 Fabrication Application Engineering, describing the qualification descriptors in terms of knowledge K, skills S, competences SC for each IIW welding coordination qualification. Knowledge for international welding engineer: highly specialized knowledge, original thinking, research and critical assessment of the principles and applicability concerning the quality assurance and quality control applied to welding and related technologies. Knowledge for international welding technologist: advanced knowledge and critical understanding of the principles and applicability concerning the quality assurance and quality control applied to welding and related technologies. International welding specialist: specialized factual and theoretical knowledge of the theory, principles and applicability concerning the quality assurance and quality control applied to welding and related technologies. Knowledge for international welding practitioner: fundamental factual and theoretical knowledge concerning the quality assurance and quality control applied to welding and related technologies. Skills for international welding engineer: highly specialized problem solving skills including critical evaluation, aligned to define or develop the best technical and economical solutions for quality assurance and quality control of welded products in complex and unpredictable conditions. Skills for international welding technologist: advanced problem solving skills including critical evaluation, aligned to choose the proper technical and economical solutions for quality assurance and quality control of welded products in complex and unpredictable conditions. Skills for international welding specialist: specialized range of cognitive and practical skills aligned to develop solutions or choose the appropriate methods for quality assurance and quality control of welded products on common regular problems. Skills for international welding practitioner: fundamental range of cognitive and practical skills required to identify, choose the proper solutions for quality assurance and quality control of welded products on basic and specific problems. Competencies for international welding engineer: manage and transform the welding application concerning the quality assurance and quality control of welded products in a highly complex context. Act as the full responsible person for the definition of the welding and related personnel's tasks. Competencies: international welding technologist: manage the applications concerning the quality assurance and quality control of welded products in a highly complex context. Act autonomously as the responsible person for decision making and the definition of the welding and related personnel's tasks. Competencies for international welding specialist: manage and supervise common or standard applications concerning the quality assurance and quality control of welded products in an unpredictable context. Take responsibility with limited autonomy for decision making in common or standard work and supervise the welding and related personnel's tasks. Competencies for international welding practitioner: self-manage within the guideline of work the application concerning quality assurance and quality control of welded products, usually predictable but subject to change. Take responsibility without autonomy for decision making in basic work and supervise basic tasks of welding and related personnel. International welding engineer, EQF level 7, teaching hours 116, workload 232 hours, ECVET points 20. International welding technologist, EQF level 6, teaching hours 83, working load at 125 hours, ECVET points 10. International welding specialist, EQF level 4, teaching hours 56, workload 84 hours, ECVET points 10. International welding practitioner, EQF level 4, teaching hours 29, workload 49 hours, ECVET points 1.6. Module 4, fabrication applications engineering. Qualification level part 3 training hours over part 1 training hours. P1 equal to part 1. Figures under P1 are given for the standard root C 4.1. Subject title 4.1, Introduction to Quality Assurance in Welded Fabrication. IWE 8 and 0, IWT 8 and 0, IWS 4 and 0, IWP 2 and 0. 4.2, Quality Control during manufacture. IWE 6 and 0, IWT 4 12 and 0, IWS 10 and 0, IWP 6 and 0. 4.3, Residual stresses and distortion. IWE 6 and 0, IWT 4 and 0, IWS 2 and 0, IWP 2 and 0. 4.4, Plant facilities, welded jigs and fixtures. IWE 4 and 0, IWT 4 and 0, IWS 4 and 0, IWP 2 and 0. 4.5, Health and safety. IWE 4 and 0, IWT 4 and 0, IWS 4 and 0, IWP 2 and 0. 4 and 0. 4.7, imperfections and acceptance criteria. IWE 4 and 0, IWT 3 and 0, IWS 2 and 0, IWP 1 and 0. Non-destructive testing. IWE 18 and 0, IWT 8 and 0, IWS 8 and 0, IWP 8 and 0. 4.9, economics and productivity. IWE 8 and 0, IWT 5 and 0, IWS 2 and 0, IWP 1 and 0. 4.10, repair welding. IWE 2 and 0, IWT 2 and 0, IWS 1 and 0, IWP 1 and 0. 4.11, reinforcing steel welded joints. IWE 2 and 0, IWT 1 and 0, IWS 1 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. 4.12, case studies. IWE 40 and 0, IWT 28 and 0, IWS 14 and 0, IWP 0 and 0. IWE Part 3 116 hours, Part 1 0 hours. IWT Part 3 3 hours and Part 1 0 hours. IWS Part 3 56 hours and Part 1 0 hours. IWP Part 3 29 hours and Part 1 0 hours. Total hours: IWE 116, IWT 83, IWS 56 and IWP 29. Theoretical education IWS 0. The module IWS 0 aims at teaching basic technical knowledge which is general is lacking in participating entering via the route 3 when compared to participants entering via routes 1 and 2. It provides the chances for professional workers and international welding practitioners to become qualified as a international welding specialist. The module IWS 0 deals with the following subjects: 0.1 Basic Metrology applicable to welding, teaching hours 4, 0.2 Technical Calculation 8, 0.3 Teaching Drawings 8, Basic of Electro Technology 2, Basic of Chemistry 2, Basic of Materials 2, Metal Products 2, Machining of Materials 2, Technical Mechanics 4, Joining Elements 2, Calculation of Strength 4, and total teaching hours are 40. Practical Education Part 2 for the IWE, IWT and IWS. This part does not aim at providing practical skills to the welding engineer, technologist, specialist, but on gaining knowledge on the control of the different welding process. The student shall become as familiar as possible with the platforms and typical defects associated with incorrect use of the different welding methods. During their exercise, the students are guided by skills welding teachers. Oxy-gas welding and cutting 6 hours, MMA 8 hours, TIG 8 hours, MIG-MAG plus flux core arc welding 16 hours. It is possible to use the advantages of virtual welding training systems, but maximum to 50% of the practical training hours. Demonstration or video presentation of processes 22 hours, gauging, brazing, plasma welding, plasma cutting, submerged arc welding, resistance welding, friction welding, electron beam welding, laser welding, other processes. Total 60 hours. It is strongly recommended that ATVs provide demonstrations instead of videos where possible. Candidates may be exempted by the ATB from the practical training on a process-by-process basis if they can demonstrate practical exercise experience and or training in the process concerned. The laboratory exercises contained in the foregoing module 1 to 4 of the theoretical part are additional and given usual at a later stage of the education. For the IWP, the practical training has to be done on an individual basis. The main processes are MMA, MIG, MAG, FACOR, TIG and gas welding. 40 hours shall be reserved to broaden the student's skill in their other relevant materials within these welder qualifications. This training shall end with a practical examination in more than one process or more than one group of materials according to ISO 9606 or national standards. For MIG welding, only materials group 22 or gas for welding, only material group 1.1 and 1.2 are relevant. If our students can demonstrate existing practical skill in an understanding of the welding and different materials, it is accepted that he can sit for the practical examination in these processes and materials without prior practical training. Typical test pieces and positions are given in table 1. The test pieces shall be welded as single side welding without backing except for aluminium where a backing is allowed. Each A and B will work to a similar table based on comparable national standards. Valid national certificates are accepted as recommended for practical examination with test pieces in table 1. Table 1 recommended test pieces and positions for practical examinations. The dimensions given in the table are recommended, proposed, but not mandatory. Other dimensions are accepted. Welding processes and practical test. ISO 9606 MMA, ISO 9606 111, Material Group ISO TR 15608 welding position PFPW, test dimension diameter thickness 6.0 to 13.0. Material Group 3, position PFPBW 6.0 to 13.0 thickness. 456 material group HL045 and BW welding position, and pipe dia is 60.3 to 115.3 dia, slag 3.9 7.11 thickness. Material group 7, position PFBW 6.0 to 13.0 thickness. Material group 8, PBFW position 6.3 to 13.0 thickness. TIG 141 welding processes. Group 1 and position HL045BW, pipe diameter 60.3 to 114.3 mm, 3.9 to 7.11 thickness. Material group 3, PFPW material group position 2.0 6.0 thickness. Material group 456 HL045 BW welding position, pipe dia 60.3 to 114.3 mm and thickness 3.9 to 7.11 mm. 7 material group and welding position PFBW 2.0 to 6.0. Material group 8 HL045 to BW welding position, pipe dia 60.3 dia 114.3, thickness 3.9 to 7.11 mm. Material group 22 PFBW welding position 2.0 to 6.0 mm thickness. For MIG 131 double 2 material group PFBW welding position 6.0 to 13.0 mm thickness. MAG and or metal core 135 and 136 welding group, material group 1 PFBW welding position 6.0 13.0 mm thickness. Material group 8 PBFW welding position 6.0 13.0 mm thickness. For FCAW flux core only 136 welding processes, 1 group material group PFBW welding position 6.0 13.0 mm thickness, 8 material group PFBW 6.0 13.0 mm thickness, 3 material group PFW welding position 6.0 13.0 mm thickness. Gas welding 311 material group 1 welding position HL045BW, diameter of pipe 60.3 to 11.4.3 mm, thickness 3.9 to 7.11 mm. Shall be reserved to give the students basic understanding of the possibilities and limitations of the other processes mentioned in table 1. The purpose of this training is only to demonstrate the possibilities and limitations of these processes, and no practical examination is required. If the student can demonstrate to the training establishment skill in the understanding of the other processes, he may be exempted from this training. Acceptance criteria for the practical examination. The quality of welding shall comply with ISO 9606 or comparable quality levels defined in National Welders Qualification Standards used by IAB Group A countries. A welder qualification certificate may be issued. Section 2, Examinations. Introduction. This guideline seeks to achieve international harmonization and a common standard in the examination and qualification of professional welding engineers, technologists, specialists, and practitioners. Education must have followed these IIW guidelines, and the examination must have been conducted by the authorized national body ANB. Admission to the examination leading to the award of the international welding engineer, technologist, specialist, and practitioner diploma will be restricted to those who comply with the minimum requirements specified in the directory of access condition and standard route, who have attended at least 90% of the course. Exemption are at the discretion of the ANB, approved by the ANB according to this guideline, or who have attended a distance learning course approved by the ANB fulfilling the requirement of guideline IAB 195 C latest edition, or alternative route, who have successfully passed the ANB detailed assessment. See Appendix 2, Diagram 9. Examination procedures. These guidelines define the minimum requirements for examinations. The examination procedures described below are designated to test the candidate's knowledge and understanding of different situations in welding technology. There will be written and oral examinations where applicable in each of the following modules, held either on completion of each module of the syllabus or at the end of the course. A. Welding processes and equipment. B. Materials and their behavior during welding. C. Construction and design. D. Fabrication and application engineering. Both written or oral examination where applicable may be held either on completion of each module of this syllabus or at the end of the course. Written examinations. At the discretion of the examination board, the examination shall consist of a series of easy essay questions covering the whole field of the module, or a series of multiple choice questions covering the whole field of the module, or a combination of A and B. The time devoted to the written examination shall be minimum of IWE level 2.0 hours per module, 8 hours in all. IWT level 1.5 hours per module, 6 hours in all. IWS level 1.0 hour per module, 4 hours in all. IWP level 2.0 hours in total for the 4 modules. Oral examination. When an oral examination is required, it shall take place after the written multiple examinations have been concluded. The oral examination is designed to test understanding and ability to reason in the field of welding. Oral examination is only mandatory for the IWE level. For the other levels of training, the oral examination will be optional at the discretion of the examination board. In the borderline cases to be defined by the A and B, oral examination shall be recommended. For the IWE level, the total time devoted to the oral examination covering all 4 modules shall be a minimum of 1 hour per candidate. Practical examination. The practical examination is only applied for the IWP qualification level. It shall be implemented as described in section 1, item 3.2. Intermediate examination. An intermediate examination is only necessary if the courses are carried out in their 3 separate parts, 1, 2, 3. At the discretion of the A and B, the intermediate examination shall consist of a series of essay questions covering the whole field of part 1 of the module, or a series of multiple choice questions covering the whole field of part 1 of the modules, or combination of A and B. The time devoted to intermediate examination shall be minimum of IWE level 1.0 hour, IWT level 1.0 hour, IWS level 30 minutes, IWP level 30 minutes. Failure in the intermediate examination shall require re-examination. Failure in a secondary examination will require the students to enter part 1 of the course. Evaluation of performance. Written and oral examination shall usually have equal importance 50%, but the weightage of the oral examination may at the discretion of the board of examiners be set anywhere within the range of 40% to 60%. In order to pass the examination, candidates shall achieve at least 60% of the minimum possible marks in each module examination. Examination in all 4 modules shall be completed within a period of 6 years from the date of the first modular examination. Re-examination. Failure in any individual module of the examination shall require re-examination only in the failed module. If a candidate fails in any of the 4 modules 3 times, they must retake the classes of the modules failed and the full examination of the module failed. Appendix 1. Abbreviation for process. The following abbreviations used in the document show the relation between the ISO designation, the process abbreviations used in Europe, and those USA used in the USA. Appendix 3. Below is the list of reference standards used in these guidelines. Thank you for watching. Keep sharing, like, comment, and subscribe.